I turn on. Dr. Gray is recovering in the hospital from surgery, and Dr. York will be here shortly. Let's have a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Let's do a roll call. McElwain here.
White here.
Bishak here.
Talbot here. Perry here.
I believe that gives us a quorum for business. Let's see. We're going to discuss the roles defined for board attorney and general counsel, and that will be Mr. Elkins and Mr. Harrison's.
Well, just briefly, and if y'all have any questions for it, I know we've talked about it in the past of how we've separated the positions and changed names and things of that nature. But as our office is starting to step away and we're getting private attorneys, so it should be two separate roles now that you're having about two separate attorneys. So Mr. Harrison here is going to serve as your board attorney. But in reality, what that means is he's a prosecutor for the disciplinary cases. That's kind of what it's there for. They're not supposed to mix. I know there can be some mixing, but there's not technically supposed to mix because they're supposed to have two separate roles. I believe you have coming up, I don't know if it's going to be set this go around with because of Dr. Gray, but your general counsel applications, and when whoever gets hired for that will be a separate person who should not touch disciplinaries at all, but should only serve their role advising the board on statutes and stuff like that. And so y'all understand the practical applications of probably why that law has been put in place, because it's come up in other boards. What they're trying to avoid is these two not meeting. If he's prosecuting with one board member and you have the rest sitting as a jury, they could be advised by the general counsel into other matters, and they kind of keep separate, so there's not essentially a tainting. Does that make sense? So that's the purpose of it, and as that comes into place, that should be set. I know it's been weird because when the Attorney General's office comes in, we kind of combine it because we're allowed to, but it will be separated as you go into private when you hire private attorneys. Do you have anything to add, Don?
I have to lean forward here. Okay.
Well,
There we go. Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Don Harrison. Thank you all for having me. It's been a long time coming to this point, but I'm really pleased to be the board attorney. And I agree with what Mr. Elkins said there. I will say that in this time period where there's not a permanent general counsel, as I see it, my primary role is the board attorney and as the prosecutor. I will say my contract does allow in the nature of general legal advice and counsel and that type thing. So I am doing some of that, but I do see my primary job as board attorney and prosecutor. And that's all I really have.
I think that's pretty straightforward. All righty. Now we'll enter into our work session on the Dental Practice Act. And Mr. Lane, if you'll help direct this.
Sure. Yes, sir. So before you, I'm going to slow roll it a little bit to give, how much time does John need before he?
They say he's about 10 to 12 minutes out.
Plenty of time. Thank you. All right. So before all of you, you'll have two separate packets. You'll have a first part, which is the larger one. This has every single person's comments that were submitted to me. They've been put in here. I've tried to color code them to the appropriate people and the appropriate names, where individuals were making comments rather than strict strike-throughs and revisions. I've tried to place those most closely to where that comment was pertinent. In other words, some folks made static comments towards the end of a paragraph, which was the end of a section, and perhaps that was better addressed further up in the paragraph to where it was really speaking. I tried to move them appropriately, but I did take some creative liberty with this one. Dr. Gray and Ms. Perry provided larger, broader existential questions and topics. I've kept those and preserved them. I did not want to misquote or misattribute those types of things, but all of those are attached as the last 2 or 3 pages of the document. So we can start there. obviously today. And then you'll have a smaller packet, which is everybody's who had submitted to me markup for part 2. I've added that and behaved in the exact same fashion for part 2. Just a couple less people did it. And then part 2 is obviously smaller than part 1. So if we can start working through those, then that means that I can make the appropriate distinctions and then notes, and then we can move into part 3 as you see fit. There's also a rule that is not up for vote necessarily, but a rule that was suggested that I revise and make last time that we can add to this and have that broader discussion before it becomes published and goes out to a formal vote, so that I can have the language correct in my draft. So I don't know where you want to start necessarily. Do you want to do that first, or do you want to do the EPA first?
Well, why don't you do this rule?
Sure. So there was broad discussion or broader discussion about making a change to the non-disciplinary administrative penalty. That was a discussion that took place last month, I think. We had the notices. A suggestion that was made was, Kevin, figure out a way to make it so that we have this discretion and preserve that without having the mandatory or compulsory notice attached to it. So I tried to achieve that by striking the last portion of Rule 509, that it used to read that a licensee shall not qualify for a non-disciplinary admin penalty more than once in a 5-year period. And I think it was sort of deemed that if we wanted to maintain that privilege, if you will, that if you strike that language, then you can assign that penalty to things along the defined nature in the above paragraphs. So this would be available to folks who, failed to renew on time, or failed to provide patient records, failed to do a CE audit or comply with CE audit. They would qualify for non-disciplinary penalties as opposed to formal notices of hearing with formal discipline attached to it.
And this keeps there having to be a actual hearing if somebody had 2 in a 5-year period, or 3.
Right. You could effectively not do your CE, and then you would owe the NDF, right? And then you would have to make up the CE as part of that, the pertinent statute and the pertinent rule. But then next year, if you happen to forget and didn't renew on time, instead of being noticed for that, you would receive an NDF for that as well.
Right.
And there are other associated checks that happen in the statute and different rules that say that you still owe us the CE, you still owe, the renewal or reinstatement. It just doesn't escalate to a formal notice of a hearing.
Right. So it stops minor things from triggering hearings.
That is the intention.
Yes. Okay. Well, we probably ought to bring this, if everybody's pretty much in agreement that we bring this tomorrow and send it for publication, if we all agree.
Yeah, this was just the working session. If there was something in here that you wanted me to modify or strike through, I could quickly get that together and then have something, quote, formal for you tomorrow to look at. But if you're okay with it as it is, then here we are. Now, Cameron brought a good question to my attention. The intention was to just handle the ability to gain access to this in subsequent years, but that doesn't always comport with the things above it, A, B, C, D, or E. So if you'll please review those and see whether or not any of those need to be stricken or modified as well to taste, please let me know. The one that Cameron brought to my attention is letter C, and it speaks to the fact that NDFs are applicable for individuals who fail to renew prior to November 1st. But that means that you would still be noticed if you renewed on November 2nd.
So however y'all want to deal with that, adjust it any kind of way, leave it like it is, however y'all want. But I just noticed that, so that means like the handful that we had, if they renewed on November 2nd,
I think you're gonna have to
Right now.
strike that too.
be noticed.
I think you're gonna have to strike it.
To be, pardon?
You have a recommendation.
Anyone hear me? I mean, really, it's the line, wherever the line is that y'all want, where does it go from? If you're fine with them just failing to renew, it's always an NDF, or if you would wait till January before you renew, then you need to be noticed, or wherever the dividing line is. That would be kind of more up to y'all's expertise for this reason.
Well,
It's so bad that it needs to be noticed.
what statutory backup do we have making December 31 the end?
You know,
Is-
your license expires on October 1. I mean, that's the statute
Right.
is October, not December.
Well, I'm just asking, why would we, what reason could we use to put it through the end of the year? Is there any?
I thought it was December years ago.
We gave that discretion.
Yeah, it was never, but that's what they do. Then it changes to after December. Right. So that would be a good break to choose.
This rule just, I'll let the debate occur, but this rule is for things that you deem to qualify as a non-disciplinary penalty. So when we're speaking about this, try to frame it logically that the way that you want to subject this is that you're offering this violation as an NDF. So if you were to strike it in total, that means that they would not qualify for an NDF and it would be strictly a notice and you would fall upon the statutory recourse. So my only suggestion, whatever date you choose, whatever is chosen, that we maintain the integrity of the fact that you're doing this for a non-disciplinary fine with a set penalty ascribed to with no discretion. It's just, you happen to fall in this window, X, Y, Z. This is the ascribed penalty, and you just move on.
So the question I would have then is, can you make the dates in here that are November 1, can you move those to December 31 without a problem?
I don't think there is, Dr. McElwain. I'll double check behind it, but I think it's,
Well-
because you're given a limit. At this point, it's a violation under the rules.
Yeah,
Now you
it's
just-
a violation, and you're
where the
gonna pay.
penalties come.
I'm just saying, I'm trying to keep from creating unnecessary cases. You know, and if this can be handled in a more efficient manner with payment of a fine, and we have a clear and clean break at the end of the year. So if you're beyond that, there's going to be a hearing. If you're inside of that, well, there'll be a hearing or a consent order. If you're inside of that, there'll be a non-disciplinary. It just seems to me that to compartmentalize it better and make it more logical. So why don't you mark it up like that and bring it back to us?
Months or so.
I'll mark it up and get it back to you, like you've asked. I think it's reasonable to understand that anything that we change isn't going to make it for this time.
Right.
So I think it's prudent to let Cameron double check and make sure that there's no other conflict with
Okay.
that December date. But yeah, I'll make the note, and then that'll be the submitted version, assuming there's no
Okay.
issue.
All right. Let's see.
Oh, I apologize. And to be clear, it would be October 1st and before December 31st.
Before December 31, right? All right. Let's see here. Dr. Coslow's not here.
We were going to call him
Oh,
when you were ready to do that.
well, hang on a second. Let me. Okay, it's about anesthesia permits and one per location. Explain that.
Kevin, you want to go ahead?
Sure. So let me pull it up on the old handy dandy. The gist of it is that the language in 221 states at the very end on number 13 or 14, whatever the last provision of that chapter is, that you subject yourself to a facility inspection, and every use of the language at that stage is singular in reference. I'll pull it up and read it to you directly. But the point is that Dr. Coslin wanted to reiterate and make sure that it's understood that we have a singular OCS permit is valid for a singular location, and that you cannot have one OCS permit and then have 5 places that you utilize that permission at. And I had that question. I spoke with Tara and Cameron about it, just generally. Is this something that already exists, or are we trying to reinvent the wheel? That type of discussion. And the feedback that I received at that time was that due to the nature of how this is phrased, you would just have to create policy. You wouldn't have to create a new rule. The portion in question reads, the board may require an on-site inspection of the facility, personnel, and equipment to confirm the above requirements to utilize oral conscious sedation have been completed prior to issuing an oral conscious sedation permit. Every actionable word in there is singular. A facility, the personnel, the equipment, and a permit.
Okay. So what you're doing is clarifying that applies to us. The inspection applies to a permit in a single location.
Correct. And where the disconnect was I think Dr. Coslin was trying to reinforce that and wanted to draft something with more specificity than that. And when consulting with the AGO, the understanding was that it already existed and that the entity needs to just enforce on that axis.
So the policy that we'll need to put out by the board will be that we recognize that an inspection of an OCS permittee is for a single location.
That's correct.
Okay.
And I think the question, remind me if I'm wrong, Kevin, is it because Dr. Coslin added that into this rule, we just need to strike it from the rule because it's already applicable? Is that what I remember that?
There were 2. There's a rule that will be discussed tomorrow that involves the teams that are permitted to evaluate. And I think that rule is 224. And that rule globally speaks to who is permitted to attend and who is going for PAGA, OCS. And this rule specifically is OCS. OCS was the spirit of the whole question and debate. It's understood that a licensee has a singular GA permit at each location that they're providing GA at. So we wanted that same level of policy and direction going forward with OCS, but the rule already offers that. It's just a matter of making sure that the board understands that and that the direction from the board to staff is to execute in that vein without further change.
Okay. So tomorrow that needs to come up for a motion, right?
224 will be discussed tomorrow, irrespective of this. This, I think, was just a discussion as to whether or not you were on board with that opinion and legal take from AGO. And if you're okay with that, then yes, if there's a policy discussion that needs to be made, or alternatively, just assign that to Sharon to create policy for as her role as ED. But when it comes to rulemaking, if you're satisfied with that answer, then no further rulemaking on 221 would need to.
Okay. All right.
To get to Dr. Malphite, just to delay that.
Yes. Why don't we? I just want to make sure we understood it before we get on the phone because it gets so confusing.
Well, the board was going to do their, talk about the discussion on 221. Do you have just a second to listen to that? Yes, sir. It won't take just a second. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Hey, Mike. That's Mark McWayne. what the board has done is we have made, a decision, that it is our policy that, any anesthesia inspection for an oral conscious sedation permit is specific to a specific location. And, and exactly what we had the Attorney General's office clarify, and they agree with us that that's what the rule says, and we're just gonna put that out as a policy so you have it, okay?
Correct. So it's just like the parental sedation and the general anesthesia. It's doctor specific and location specific.
Yes, specific
Yes.
doctor, specific location.
Yes.
All right, but we're just making sure that we tell you, and we're all on the same page.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
I said, we're just making sure that you know that we're all on the same page.
Yes, no, absolutely, sure.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. And then are you going to be calling me later about the other issue that we talked about?
That's on for tomorrow, the 224.
Okay, all right. So that's for tomorrow then.
Yes, sir.
All right, see you guys in the morning.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Let's see now, all right, let's get back up to the nuts and bolts, of DPA.
Sure.
And let's start, with, the part one.
If I may this time, last time when Tara was here and we led, I took all of that feedback, right, that you all offered and put that in here. I think it would be beneficial at this stage to please read over this and critique it page by page. Part one is the most substantive, and it may also benefit us to further break it down. It's about 59, 60 pages of material, not including the back end stuff that I've appended to it. With that being said, if you only want to digest the first 25 pages, this afternoon and then do part two as well, that's fine. Just so long as we're making forward progress on it.
Okay.
I also believe this is the first time that everybody has had access to everybody's thoughts. So that was the entire intention. Again, if we communicate through myself, then that stops the serialized meetings that may occur with constant discussion in email.
I'm flipping through the 34-9-16, the fee schedule. In my notes, I had I think some of what the previous fee schedule
What page is that on?
was. I'm sorry, it's on page 42.
Gotcha.
I think I had put like a comparison. My reason is to just show the big increase, and I guess I just wanted to make sure that what was set was within normal limits, and that it, just that we still agreed upon those fees. That's why I was trying to give a comparison of where it was the last time this was updated, and then might want to
Gotcha.
go back and I can provide it, but that was my point. My purpose in that was just to show that there was a considerable change from that year. And just to make sure that we all agreed, or if that was, financially the right thing to do as we're reevaluating. I have, I think most of it was 2011. And that's where, I mean, like, for example, examination application fee in 2011 was 200. Or I guess 2010 and 2011, it was raised to 750. And then there were some that were changed in 2018 and then nothing since then. Impaired dental professionals committee that changed in 2013. So I just wanted for everybody to realize where the changes were and if anything needed to be adjusted up, nor or down.
The important part to remember about 34916 is it's the maximum attributed in the fee schedule.
Gotcha.
So it's anything below that or to that exact value.
Gotcha.
You can control within policy. You can just say, hey, I want to charge $750 now for dental examination fee. But if you wanted to charge $751, you'd have to make the statutory change. So to your point,
But you still like maybe since it's been
look at the history of
2011, it's been 15 years. So do any of those need to be adjusted? Since we're trying to balance the budget some.
But I think the main thing, you just need to give yourself a little room to account.
Right.
Yeah, that's because trying to,
Right.
the budget starts going south, trying to get a statute changed quick to fix it is right.
Is this the one that, what was it, the new that was gone?
So I guess really what?
I guess really the question is, are we up against the ceiling against anything? That's kind of the question, since we can go as far down as we'd like.
Yeah, you can go zero to the amount. I have Dr. Talbot's feedback if we want to jot those in next to them. Starting at the top, it looks like in 2011, the previous in sequence. I'm reading these, so it was $200, $100, $200, $100, $100, $200 for special purpose. There didn't have a fee ascribed to special purpose license renewal fee in the note. 130 for dental annual renewal, 250 for reinstatement, 50 for hygiene, 0 for training permit fee for the note, 175 for the dental hygiene education fee, 75 for the cert course fee, 500 for the instructional material fee. I have two values here. I have a value from 2011 for the dental hygiene regional exam fee at $55, and then that looks like it was upped in 18 to $75. $50 for the dental hygiene application fee, $100 for the dental hygiene dental hygiene examination fee, and then another $100 for the hygiene examination materials fee, $400 for hygiene licensure by credential, $55 for hygiene annual registration, $100 for hygiene license reinstatement penalty, and then these other values appear to be from 2018. Yeah, I have nothing for the anesthesia permit fee. I believe that didn't exist at that time. It's newer, and then we have a license cert fee from $25. I think that must have been in 2011 to $150 in what must be 18, and then a duplicate replacement fee of $25, a teaching permit fee of $150, nothing for dental faculty special teaching. The controlled substance fee was $125. The renewal fee was $100. General anesthesia permit fee was $900. The anesthesia renewal fee was $200. Parenteral sedation was $9. Sedation renewal was $200. OCS was $200 with the renewal fee of $50. Then the mobile dental application fee was $750 with the mobile dental renewal fee of $250. What I did not verify was whether or not those were statutory maximums and if those were just the the values ascribed at the time
I've got the statutory maximums if you need it.
from 2011.
No, I've
Yeah.
got what's on here.
Yeah, yeah. I have the now, but I did not verify in 2011 what the maximum was versus the figure and what 2018's maximum was versus the figure. But of course you see in black on the markup what they're currently at. So if we need to adjust anything, of course you can just call a line item out, and I'm sure either
Well, these
myself or
are
Dr.
maximum numbers.
Correct, correct.
So as long as we can stay within the maximum, I think it's fine. But it's the.
I got,
Okay.
I got a question. On these things in maximum, how much are we charging out currently? Because then if
Yeah.
we know
We
that we're
have it
close,
in the budget.
It's on the budget.
it's in the budget, okay.
The one from 25, 26. But it'll also be on the new budget.
And we'll go over the budget next month.
The only reason in 18 that we raised any of these and we studied over them was that we wanted to make sure that they were raised enough that we could keep the numbers where we could break even.
Right, right.
And so all these numbers just reflect us trying to stay within our budget and that these are the maximums we could go to. Though I don't think we really pinged any of these maximums anywhere.
We haven't.
We just set them so that we could always be within the budget. So they would be 25, 30, 40, 50% greater than what our budget would ever need as far as in that period of time. Kevin, let's go back through this and start from page 1.
Sure.
On page 2, I just made the comment that we probably needed to strike expanded duty dental assisting because we don't have that provision at all.
Generally, the only discussion point here, obviously I have the markup, but the discussion point is I think Dr. White had alluded to the potential of adjusting expectations or having it, and that just is a broader discussion. If it's not going to be discussed or done, then yeah, it needs to be removed. And if it's going to be done, it needs to be reflected.
Then we put something back.
Correct. Trying to do the whole measure twice, cut once thing, as
I
opposed to
understand. All right. The next place was on page 4. Where Dr. Talbot was talking about the purpose of the chapter.
I guess my concern was, well, what I wrote, the purpose of this chapter is to protect the public and promote access to safe, high quality dental care, health, safety, welfare through licensure, education, discipline to the satisfaction of the board, supported by substantial evidence and rehabilitation of licensees and follow administrative law standards. I just wrote that Tennessee board added that the board actions must be reasonable, discipline must be supported by evidence, and board decisions must follow administration law standards. I think the question or the comment was to also include the rehabilitation of our licensees, which we've spoken in the past about how not only do we protect the public, but we are also involved in the health and well-being of the actual dentists and licensees of the state of Alabama. I was just trying to broaden that the purpose just a little bit so that it made our actual purpose a little bit more clear than being told we only are here to protect the public. Because actually our board does more than that, in my opinion.
And Tennessee board has this in their purpose.
Anybody else?
I like it. I'm just concerned when the governor says that we are to protect the public. We should be going outside of that in our purpose.
Don't know until you try. All they could do is say no. But that we actually do more than what is written. Therefore, I felt like our purpose should actually describe what we actually do. It's my opinion again.
Morgan, do you have a copy of this?
Done, you know, and it's, as long as those remarks are, basically trying to really be the wellness part.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's okay. It's just when it gets to things that are not necessarily, that are more about business dentistry is where you run foul and you're gonna have people start raising hands and putting some problems in the So to that end, you know, I'll let the final lawyers do figuring out describing that to narrowly, and also I think Bridget, I think say that, you know, when you to further protect publicly and we do have an access problem. We need our dentists to have wellness problems to get well so they can get back in practice. We don't need easy workers. We don't know that as well as anybody. So, I mean, that would have to be scribed up pretty close in time, but also knowing there is a line that can't go past, otherwise we get ourselves.
Would you mind turning to page 4 of that and just reading those 5 or 6 lines in the article near the top place, Mississippi CDD hurdles?
Page 4.
And we need Reagan to turn on.
That's all right.
And they're gonna pick up on the recording. He prefers that.
I guess my first thought is that might need to be a legislative finding rather than a definition. And that's just reading this off the top. And some sort of qualifier of what rehabilitation of licensees means. And, you know, as appropriate, or some sort of qualifier that it's not an automatic process. But, well, I see the opening of 3492 is the findings that gets into some of the, basically the same discussion about what this is all about and what should be done.
Agree with Reagan.
Can I charge $300 an hour?
I would like to.
Or $195.
This gets into the purpose of this chapter as opposed to a definition. So I do wonder if you could put it in the next one and revise, maybe change section 2 to purpose and legislative findings and then have the purpose there. Because it does say, it says for purposes of this chapter, the following terms have the respective meanings. So this is just a definition section.
That's very standard in every act. The first thing they do is define all the terms. It's just a dictionary up front. So when you see something, I know you've probably seen them in contracts or whatnot, same thing.
And a lot of acts do have a purpose. You know, they do have a stated purpose, and I don't see one currently in this.
Well, the other thing is when it's drawn up in a bill, they'll give you one. The Legislative Services Agency will basically, for the purposes of for the legislature to, a lot of people don't read all 120-page bills. They may read the front page and then just see what parts of the code are being impacted. And it'll say this bill does this, and this. And they can put some of that language in there. But I think the better place is in the legislative. If we're going to have legislative findings, put them there. That way you've established that the role of this board to help supervise a program that does provide an opportunity of rehabilitation for dentists and hygienists. But knowing that we've got a little bit of a tightrope to walk there.
Reagan, could you speak to the Legislative Services Agency role?
Legislative Services Agency is just the administrative back end for the legislature. Generally, the legislature doesn't have large staffs. They may have an executive assistant. That's about it. It's broken in two halves. One of them is the legal side. They're the people that write every bill. When a legislator has an idea for a bill, they just say, hey, I want a bill that does this, this, and this. And it goes in and gets assigned, and one of the attorneys writes it. They have a budgetary side as well that helps the legislature write the two budgets. And that's when we say legislative service agency. That's what we mean. They also are the administrators of the Administrative Procedures Act. So when y'all have a rule, it goes to them, and they handle all the publication of it, and are the administrative back support for the Legislative Council, which can approve, modify, or reject the rule. I can hang out up here if you want me to, if you got other questions, or I can go back and sit down.
So just so I understand, this section, the purpose should go in a different.
I don't think it belongs in definitions. I don't, because it's not really, you define the dental board, it'll say the board, and that'll be the Alabama Board of Dental Examiners as created in whatever. And then what a dentist is and what a hygienist is, and then all of your technical terms, oral conscious sedation, and all that gets defined. And then you get into once you've defined all the terms, which, that's set, then you start going through okay, now that we have all this is what we do. And then there's obviously going to be a portion of it that creates you as a board corporate. And there's a part that creates, your ability to hire an executive director and attorneys and all that. But at the appropriate part where it talks about legislative findings, that's what the legislature says what your job is, because they're the ones that are going to decide that at the end of the day. They're going to vote on a piece of legislation or any board that says this is the board of XYZ and this is what the board of XYZ does. And obviously we have our chance to get our hands on the ball, so to speak, right now and make suggestions and say, hey, this is something we think needs to be in there because it's an integral part of what you do. And understanding that, there's a bright line there that we do not want to step across, but we don't want to be caught unawares. But the other side of that is, though, the program is in law currently. So it's not like you're not authorized to do all this. But, if it's important to make a statement of purpose within the law, that's certainly available and proper to do so. But I'll stop at that and let y'all move on because I'll prattle on all day.
No, I needed that.
Dr. Talbot, I just want to add that when I'm looking at it a little bit more. If we move that section, I might just look at that language you put in there about the administrative law standards and all that. And the reason being is because we follow the APA and we stated it, but I don't want to say like the words, and this is pure legalese, I know, like substantial evidence, because then they'll try to go appeal it saying the APA says this standard, but now they've said a word in the statute that says substantial evidence. And you end up fighting over what in the world that means. So it is purely technical. We can kind of get what you want.
These are just
suggest. Yeah, I know.
my ideas, and I don't know where any of this goes.
No.
Nor do it. I'm not saying that it had to go there, or I was just trying to present my ideas in some form or fashion somewhere in these documents. So I don't have a clue in regard to where, how, or when. I just know that it's been pointed out several times that our only function should be protecting the public, but there are other, I mean, we do much more than that, and I don't know how that plays in or if it needs to play in, but those are just my ideas or, my thoughts on the situation.
No, and the only reason I was speaking of is like, the only reason I would ask it is because I don't want to accidentally create some other burden of evidence that's going to
Right.
complicate the disciplinary system. They get the same thing what you're getting. So I just want to let you, when I saw it,
Just like,
change that.
I don't know that part versus you doing a root canal. So, so yeah, that these are just, it's not meant to go in any specific place or terminology. I'm just trying to figure.
So Kevin, what you're saying is that a rewrite of 3492 legislative findings, it can incorporate things in there that we've been talking about, involving protection of the public, but also involving promoting access to care and let's see, protects the public health and safety, promotes access to care, supports professional standards of practice, encourages innovation in dentistry and delivery, maintains fair and transparent regulatory process. Something like that, which is on page 11.
Yeah. So my comments, what all of y'all are saying is my comments, rather than under the section of definition, really should follow under 34.9-2.
Yeah, I think that's the better place to put it.
Okay.
And
Yes, like I
think
said,
we ought
I
to
don't.
modernize what's said there, looking at the things that we've written coming after it.
Okay.
Because I think that the legislature would agree that everything we can do to promote access to care that maintains protection of the public and safety is reasonable. Kevin, you kind of get where we're going there? Okay, good. All right. Yeah, there was some discussion in here about that we really don't have any legislative or statutory authority over insurance or stuff like that. I mean, is there insurance companies are in another section, if I remember right, like 10,
27 is national insurance, 10 Blue Cross is in
10, yeah. I remember 10 for some reason.
Yeah, it's in big nonprofit.
Yeah, no. Is there anything there that can expand our authority in that? That's been asked me by lots of people. Or is that unreasonable?
I mean, I'll say politically unreasonable and unfeasible. The problem is, it would be interfering with the right to contract. They have an advantage in that, clearly the insurer does. I mean,
But as a board, in regard to access to care being the least reimbursed state in the country, I mean, at what point even though maybe we feel nothing will be done about it, but at what point do we start fighting back a little bit, or do we just keep our mouth shut? Or,
well, I mean,
but because our access to care, the trend is declining, will continue to decline. And I mean, we're pretty hopeless at this point. There's really nothing that we can do.
the board is a collective. I don't believe we can do it. Eventually, you can call anybody, talk to anybody. You can certainly join with the association that you're a part of and work through those issues. But as a collective, I think you run the risk of getting in trouble with the FTC on average.
Well, that's scary.
And then,
It's just, I mean, it's, you know.
I understand. I'm
First
I'm-
one.
well, no, and I'm just, look, the complaints or the people coming to us, the comments that we hear, you know, just trying to continue to think through the process and, you know, to keep on pushing. Otherwise, Alabama will have very few dentists in a very short period, another 15 years. You know, the decline in the last 15 years is tremendous. So, yeah, just trying to figure
And that's a public health problem.
correct. So,
But we
I'm
have
just trying to find out.
We had a dentist that came in, maybe last year that talked about, how insurance companies were not to ever own a practice. And do you remember that, John? And he said that it was our responsibility to make sure that we protect the public by those insurance companies. They dictate what's done and have dentists do things, but they're not supposed to do that because they're not licensed providers. I know it's in the weeds,
Well,
but
I
there's,
understand, I think it's been litigated. I mean, they basically put a contract in front of you and say, this is what, you know, you're gonna get reimbursed for doing this. And we approve this, we don't approve that. But that's not ownership of the policy. Now, you may be subject to the insurance contract, but they don't own the practice. And I believe they are owning practice.
I think where
if you remember, we sent that, statute to the AG's office to ask, and the answer was that, that didn't give us any type of jurisdiction over a contract between a dentist and an insurance company.
correct.
I think the resultant answer was you always have the ability to say no. Now, I know practically
Correct.
it's different, but in
Yeah.
the end, like he said, it's the right to contract. You could say no. Now, whether
Right.
they got you kind of over a barrel, you have to accept it. It's a different
Which I don't-
conversation. But
I don't
legally,
think we should tell a dentist what they can and can't do. I think the only place that we need to possibly monitor is who that corporation, who the licensed dentist, which you spoke, I think at the last meeting, who the licensed dentist is for that corporation within that practice. You know, is that is that dentist truly licensed in the state of Alabama? I mean, I don't know what checks and balances there are in regard to that.
You're talking about
Who's
the insurance company's consultant dentist.
No, who like the I don't want to name a specific DSO, but just that particular practice that's corporate in Birmingham.
Oh,
Who's the responsible licensed Alabama dentist for that practice? I don't
what
know.
we call a signatory.
Yes,
Person that,
who's responsible in the state if something does happen, it goes against their license. You know, that they're responsible for.
yeah, ultimately, when everybody says DSO, this is the person we go to and say, we need the records, we need to see this.
Correct. Yeah, I
They're
just don't know
responsible.
how our checks and balances on our end to ensure that we have that person in place that's responsible. You know, like, okay, Dr. Smith, you practice in Missouri, there's a violation or something in Alabama, we're going to pull your license. Okay. I'm still practicing in Missouri. So that's kind of where the rub is a little bit. Or I don't know rub, but you know, somebody, you know, if we're protecting the public, then you see what I'm saying?
One of the things that is interesting is that we talk about insurance, but most of these insurance are management plans. They're dental plans, so they don't come under the insurance commission. So they're, you know, all of us here can set up a dental management company, and we can operate outside a lot of statutory things. And that's where I think people get confused. They're dental plans, they're dental managements. So basically, that's what we're dealing with. Now, as far as the fees and so forth, that's elders in the Alabama Dental Society. They need to fight for that. Talking about a licensee at dentist saying you have to treat this because I told you, ultimately it's the dentist that will decide whether or not to treat that individual when someone else says you got to do this. And so ultimately, he or she has to decide to say, no, I'm not doing it. Now, there are going to be consequences for it. That's fine. It's protecting the public. You betcha. But ultimately, it's the responsibility of the licensees. And we're not dealing with, again, with the insurance. I think most of it gets confused. It's dental plans and dental management companies, if you look, the majority. Let me ask another question. This is on page 4. That John rightly says, does it mean this is dealing with commercial labs? If I have a person that does he make him to have a commercial lab? The only thing I can say is if that commercial lab has an EIN number or LLC within your organization, or if you accept other licensees' work, that could be considered. If you have your own, I would not say that would be a commercial lab.
But it says
Yeah, the reason I was asking was a little bit twofold. Number one, I'm about to undergo an expansion and I'm going to have a larger area, about half the size of this room, for all my digital equipment, et cetera. And the gentleman that's doing my dentures right now out of Gunnersville, the plan is to move him in my office and let him continue to do that. But he also does work for Aspen Dental and a few other companies. So I'm not sure where that puts me, because he's going to be leasing from me, but he's also going to be getting paid by me. So I didn't know where that put me. And another thing is, I think someplace in some of this, I'm pretty sure this is correct, Kevin can correct me if I'm wrong. If you do own part of a commercial dental laboratory, I think that excludes you from sitting on this board.
That's right.
You're correct.
You're right.
Y'all don't go all by.
I said, I'll send on my work to Dr. York's.
Always looking for the next great way to lose money, Reagan. While you guys are rolling that around in your head, what I just asked, let's back up to number 2. So I wasn't trying to be too nitpicky right there, but under annual registration, obviously there's also an annual registration fee for the permits, controlled substances and sedation anesthesia permits. I just didn't know, since it says has renewed the authority of the licensee to practice dentistry or dental hygiene, and I thought maybe and or the controlled substances, and so I didn't know if that needed to be in this definition or not. I know it kind of comes in later, but I also know too that definitions are fairly important, so I'll just let you guys see what you think about that. That may be too much minutia.
As just a point, that is an inference, right? In order to prescribe anything, you have to be a licensed dentist in the first place. Otherwise, you wouldn't be authorized to do it. So when this question has been brought up in the past before, historically, that has been the answer that the board has given. If this board wants to refine that or reframe it, great. But for historical perspective, I offer that to you.
No, I'm perfectly fine with what you said. I was just trying just to look over the shoulder of the PAs we're going through it. So it just caught my eye.
All right.
Back to number 4. I guess the question is, Dr. York, if he's leasing from you, you don't own him, or do you have stock in that company? What's the makeup of that?
I think the reason I'm asking right now is none of this has transpired yet. And so the answers that I get today probably will dictate how I structure this moving forward.
Okay, but we're not gonna be in the business of telling dentists who they can lease unused rooms to. So if it's a lab that you do not have controlling interest in, then that wouldn't be your lab because you're paying him to do your job just like any other doctor would, and he's paying you for that space. So
But he would have to be incorporated.
Right.
No,
Yes. He would have to have a city license.
right,
He would definitely have to have a city license. I don't think he'd have to be incorporated.
okay.
But also too, he would have to carry his own insurance.
Correct.
I forgot we're getting down in the weeds now, and I apologize.
People gonna pay you and you pay him for that service.
Yes.
That's
Then you're,
probably
Yeah.
makes you laugh. The moment somebody pays you for a service.
Oh, no, I apologize.
Yeah, I was saying, I'm Dennis Fred down the road and I'm ordering some dentures. Am I paying you or am I paying him?
You're paying him.
then
I
that's,
think you're okay.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to ask, and I'm not getting any percentage, nothing like that. That is not, he is going to be paying me rent. Bottom line.
Again, I wasn't the lawyer, but I think that's kind of a threshold.
You would make a good lawyer, but you should consider that.
I'm 62 years old. I'm not some lawyer.
I agree, Dr. York. It would just be just careful not to blur the lines. It's not that I'm operating the lab and I'm making money off of them compared to what you would do now if you just send it somewhere else. You're just bringing the relationship a little closer, but
I just thought it's better to ask on the front end than get whipped on the back end.
oh, yeah.
Hey, we're Auburn fans, but we don't look good wearing Auburn.
So is the language good for you, John?
Oh, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, I think if it was not about to happen to me personally, I probably would not be, this wouldn't have even caught my eye. But I have the answers now that I think I need. So thank you.
So Dr. Clark, we're on the 13th.
Yeah, so this, I believe reasonable notice is much more clear than adequate notice. I think it just explains it well. I mean, that's pretty much all I said to change in that is just, instead of making an adequate notice of at least 15 days, termination of the dental treatment without giving the patient reasonable notice.
See, adequate notice was put in there to satisfy the board,
Okay.
that it's not abandonment. That's the reason that word was used. That it was a legal satisfaction, that we felt like that if you did that, you weren't abandoning a patient. That's the reason it said that.
And so reasonable notice would not do that?
I think it does about the same thing.
Okay.
I think that's the only reason we use the word.
I think it creates more flexibility.
Legally, is there a difference?
I mean, in my opinion, not really, because you're following right afterwards saying of at least 15 days. So
Okay.
you're given the qualifier, we find adequate notice to be 15
All right.
days. So, yeah.
That's good then.
Yeah, you basically define whether you have the word reasonable or adequate, you define it as at least 15 days. So
Okay.
I think it's interchangeable at that point.
All right.
But I would say, Dr. White, I might just not include generally at least 15 days
Okay.
because you're giving wiggle room for me to say, I did in 13 days, but I think it was fine. And
Okay.
now it produces a question where if you just want it, it's got to be a minimum of 15 days, just leave it as 15.
Okay.
Yeah. See, I think prior to us modifying this, it had been 30 days notice. And we said, well, let's try to tighten this thing down a little bit and make it a little more reasonable so you're not on the hook for so long. Okay. Moving down to 14, Dr. White, under 1,
Let me see, go back and read it. Okay, so I have replaced outside as a result of transmission of the individual patient data by electronic, digital, or other communication technologies. And that's just to bring us up to date. Well, you know, things are not just postal or, you know.
So you change the word means to communication technologies?
Yes.
And I can see in the future, communication technologies, communication technology may be obsolete. I can see that. Yeah, because means can be a broader, that's, other means could be, it's more globally.
Right. Okay.
Just a word of warning, clarification, notification. You're right. It ought to be that way. There's always pushback about switching to electronic as a means of
Well, electronic.
provider option, not consumer option. They'll always seem to want to put in some sort of opt-in, opt-out language where the person can still require written notification. We may be to that point yet where we've crossed the digital hump for everybody, but unfortunately, legislators tend to think about Miss Mary, who's 84 years old and doesn't have email, or doesn't have doesn't know how to text or whatever. So just to be aware of that. Now, I'm not saying you can't try it, we can't try. I'm just saying, just be aware of that. Be aware of that or something.
What this is talking about is where you might go to see me, and I might make digital x-rays, I might make digital photographs, I might compose something, and I send it to a colleague of mine in Rochester, Minnesota at Mayo, and say, hey, look, I'm looking at this on Ingram. What do you think? And this is more specific to that.
Okay, not communicating with the patient.
No, not
No.
the patient.
Okay, so then consider this is a friendly forewarning. If we have anything that talks about communicating with patients.
Okay.
Let's update that language to reflect all the modalities of a way you might send it to somebody out of the state, whether it be by common carrier or electronic or digital or L satellite, whatever. Whatever you need to say. Okay.
The thought process was just being forward thinking.
Right. Because things are going to change.
Right.
All right. Now, the next place we're down to the 16, which is sedation.
All right. I'm sorry, I got to go back and read what it was said before. Give me a second. Okay, this is just changing the wording to saying it's a drug-induced depression of consciousness, during which the patient responds purposefully to verbal commands, light tactile stimulation, levels of sedation, including minimal, moderate, and deep sedation, shall be further defined by the board rule. And that aligns with the ADA definitions. Can I keep going?
I agree with that.
I would probably not include deep sedation in, or I would, I have to think about that for a minute. When you deeply sedate somebody, they may not independently and continuously maintain their airway sometimes and respond appropriately to physical stimulation. They you shake them, they don't do anything. I just think we need to minimize saying too much
Okay,
in that definition.
okay.
And we need to, as we go along, where we define anesthesia and sedation later on, we need to be more fleshy, less fleshy here. Some places would say they denote anesthesia and sedation as synonymous.
Well, this is just describing the levels of sedation. It doesn't say that they will be, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, what I'm saying is what you say in the first sentence
Yeah,
is not necessarily true of,
deep sedation.
right?
Yeah.
I think we gotta be real careful what we say. Because see, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a board rule that defines this from this statutory thing that we're fixing to write here.
Okay.
And we don't want to put something in the statute that's different in the board. Is this the ADA definition of sedation?
It's in the ADA.
What? Deep state.
Dr. McElwain, are you saying, would it be feasible to strike the first part of what Dr. White typed there and just leave the second part where it says the board will define the levels of sedation?
Or is it possible that could be a board rule?
I think that this sedation was talking about minimal and moderate. You know, if you shake somebody that's under moderate sedation, you can breathe, and they breathe.
Yeah.
You know, but if they're under deep sedation, they might not do nothing. And so I just think we got to be real careful about how we define it.
Okay.
What if you just say levels of sedation and just strike the rest shall be further defined by board rule?
Yeah, I like that. That'd be fine with me. Just leave out the words
They got
minimal, moderate, and deep. Just levels of sedation shall be further defined by board rule. That's good.
In respect to changing at that point, that's understood. Do we need to explicitly say that? That is the function of a rule.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So we already have the fact that this is pharmacologically induced in the original definition. But if we're not going to keep the trace or striations of minimal, moderate, and deep, do we need to make a modification to this at all?
Yeah.
I don't want to get too in the weeds on this, but like, I'm a little confused because this says sedation, the current definition, or the one, well, just look at the current definition.
The current one is depressed level of consciousness.
But retaining the patient's ability to independently and continuously maintain an airway and respond appropriately. Now, deep sedation, they don't respond appropriately, do they? This is a layman understanding, but in deep sedation, they don't respond appropriately, do they? So it's a little inconsistent there to have that.
Yeah. What we need to do is probably just leave the original definition we have there, and as we get further in this thing, be more careful where we do our definitions.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what did you think about teledentistry?
Even though we don't have a wide number of dentists that may be doing it now, there are some that do.
Okay.
I have that teledentistry in my list to add as well.
As a layperson, what does that look like in practice? What does teledentistry look like in action?
You might have a hygienist that you send out to Cherokee, Alabama, and she's able to sit down with the patient and get digital X-rays and photographs and do an examination and everything, and that's sent back to somebody in Tuscumbia. And I look at it and said, yeah, that kid needs to come in and have work done.
So that can't happen now because of supervision.
Yes.
Well, teledentistry is clear aligners. Someone can be in treatment and send a photo to let their
From me to doctor, to you to doctor.
yes.
Teledentistry is also a patient who takes a photo because they can't get to you to show you what an abscess is.
Yeah.
And you see it, therefore you can prescribe antibiotics and everything. So
You just need to have all of that covered, so that there's a reasonable framework for what's already done.
It's gonna be interesting when you do the rule, when you say secure video conferencing. If you use Zoom meeting or, no, what do you call it? What you guys, WebEx. Yeah, but we're gonna have WebEx, but if we talk to our patients with this, we FaceTime, don't we? That's not secure video. So it's gonna be interesting how that's gonna be defined.
So direct supervision.
That's not what that does.
I'm sorry.
I'm making notes, just saying if you want it, I say the word once, and if you don't, I say it.
Yeah, I think we need to define teledentistry.
Renee, you also wrote something. How does that splice together with yours?
Oh, that one's, I think.
Yeah.
I think yours is more descriptive.
Yeah. I know that it's probably not HIPAA compliant, or maybe it is HIPAA compliant. Hell, I ain't never decided. When patients send me pictures of things, you know, I'm not sending the picture to them. They're sending the picture to me, and then I'm saying this is what we need to do. You know, so that's not secure.
it's not secure, but you didn't send it. The patient sent it to you. Now,
Right.
had you sent it to somebody else, like you say, to your doctor friend, if you send that through a text, that's when you're going to violate HIPAA. But that patient can, they're not under their HIPAA law. They
Right,
can send
right,
you
right.
whatever. But you can't send it to another doctor through a text message and it be compliant.
Mark, on that example, I would say, how do you respond to the patient? Do you respond with email or you make a phone call?
I call them on telephone.
Then you're fine.
I don't write down things. A very old lawyer once told me, he said, you didn't write it, it probably didn't happen.
I understand the discussion about secure, but if we include the word secure and it is deemed, Dr. Piszczek saying, I almost think maybe strike the word secure and just go video conferencing, because if Roberto FaceTimes me, surely to goodness it's just me and him on there. So I that's just my 2 cents worth on that.
I think we need to leave the definitions of HIPAA violations to HIPAA. Let's don't be
Yeah.
defining that.
Yeah, if you added anything, I would just tell you just to add, should be done pursuant to all applicable statutes or something like that. Yeah, I wouldn't define it anymore than
Yeah.
that. Because the HIPAA.
That's what I'm
it can
saying.
change.
I'm just saying that
Theoretically.
what's, during COVID, lots of things got relaxed and they said it was okay to do. And then after that's over, now they're saying, oh, you shouldn't be doing that.
It's over.
The emergency. I don't think COVID's ever over.
Cameron, would you keep or strike the word secure in Dr. Talbot's definition?
Are you gonna go striking it?
I mean, I am because it's going to be assumed anyway. That
Yeah.
you're assuming that you are going to follow HIPAA, whether this statute tells you or not. So
Yeah.
I think you're.
So let's work on that definition based on removing secure. Now, let's get down to direct supervision.
Yes.
Supervision in which a licensed dentist is physically present in the treatment facility and available for immediate. How about immediate access? Instead of intervention.
Okay.
Because a lot of times, what people are going to do, if you're there, they're going to ask you, what do you think about this, or what should I do here? And you're not stopping them from doing something, you're starting them to do something. So you're not intervening, you're there for immediate consultation and access. All right. The next one is indirect supervision.
So I put this in there because we may have a time when we can have general supervision. And if we have general supervision, then there will be a time when maybe the hygienist will need to get consultation. Thoughts?
Are you asking whether we should use the word indirect supervision in the definitions or the word general supervision?
Well,
Environment. I think
yeah,
indirect means that you are accessible to me if I need you.
right.
So if I need to make a phone call to you, you are going to be there to answer that call. Whereas general, you already told me what I can do. You don't have to be on call. But indirect
Okay, so
means that you're
the
accessible.
rest of indirect should have read supervision in which a licensed dentist has authorized the procedure, but is not physically present, but available for consultation or something like that.
So my thought process is, okay, general supervision is potentially something, well, it's something that other states are doing. Not saying we do everything other states do, but if a hygienist needs some guidance, then they will have access, like you said, to that doctor. So I think we need to have an indirect definition in addition to a general supervision. It was no indirect there, but if we're having potentially general supervision, then we need to have indirect.
So you're saying that if I do a general supervision, something happens and they cannot get a hold of me, that's okay. But indirect, they have to get a hold of me, right?
Correct. Needs to be available.
Have to be available, but not in general supervision.
The only question I have when you talk about availability is time. Available when? During the actionable portion of the procedure, after the procedure, at the close of business?
I think
I think if you just generally define the different types of supervision as time goes, if we move into any of these.
Then we can make it.
Then we would make it, you know, just, it's just a definition out there. But as time goes, if something were to move into that direction, then you would have a bit of a guideline in the rule could.
I agree, but I'm seeing it. I
Yeah.
think I'm seeing your vision. I'm seeing that there are 3 titrated views of this, and direct means that I'm working for you, next to you in a different operatory, right? And then you're able to just, hey, please come over here. I need help now. Versus indirect, which is, hey, I need you to go do blank. But time, like literal time, is the only variable that's different. So does that mean I'm able to call you and say, I need help in a second? Can you please swing by? Or, you know, can I use my phone and say, this is what I'm experiencing, what's going wrong?
I don't think that it's about needing help. It's about, hey, could you look at this x-ray for me?
Any
Right, not-
variable of this.
We're on fire, come
Sure.
to us.
Right.
So I would think that if you can look at this x-ray for me, that's not an emergency. Look at it.
But what is the prescribed time in your mind for that? Like if you're doing the
Is he
procedure,
immediately available?
right?
Or is he available within 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour?
That's where I was trying to articulate
Well-
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see a
I mean, how are
difference.
we gonna know that? Well, how are we gonna know what you're doing in 15 minutes or an hour?
Nurse practitioners do, because that's where, you know,
Good question.
It's not
Because-
immediate.
right.
I think it's direct and general. I think indirect
You
is
mean
saying the
direct-
same. It's saying the same thing as general supervision. I think it's either you direct, you're there with your staff, or you're not. That's the way I look. I mean, if you make, that's what it is, because physically not present and general supervision, I would just say either direct and then general supervision,
So remove
indirect.
indirect.
Maybe going down the rabbit hole here, but I think nurse practitioners, if we really, I'm not saying we're trying to compare to that, but the question was asked. I think at the end of their day, a physician has to sign off on their charts. I do not think a physician has to be.
No,
That is not true.
you've, once a month, you gotta go by and look at a representative sample, which is usually in
Just once a
chart,
month, once a month.
and you sign off
Okay,
in chart.
sorry, once a month.
That's all you do.
Gotcha.
I will say, Dr. White, what you could do if y'all pare it down to just direct in general, you could define further in rule. Fleshing it out, where that's just giving you these are just giving you broad outlines. These are 2 different versions, and then take it by rule from there.
Okay.
Well, we're defining now, and the real hard part will be when you get down to rule.
Mhm.
Okay, expanded dental duty assistant, or duty dental assistant. Huh? Well, I can tell you,
I heard about
I
it.
can tell you that it all got put in there, but nobody could ever come up with a course to teach it. And you had it all defined, but you could, and we never could define what was going to be taught in the course. And so after it wallered around for several years, it was finally taken out. And it was simply because we could not define the duties, and then we couldn't. Nobody wanted to do the education, or we couldn't find anybody to do the education.
So what would Danby? They don't do better?
And there was nobody in Alabama.
They're not in Alabama, but they are, not, I don't know, because I'm thinking, I know of at least 2 hygienists that are Danby. They have them. And I believe programs like, oh, goody.
I was here for both of them when it went in and when it came out, and Dr. McElwain. Dr. McElwain's memory is quite precise. I'll give him a thumbs up. It was just it got to the point where we were being asked, the board was being asked by examiners like, okay, why aren't you doing this? And it was becoming an issue that, all right, you've got this on the books and you're not doing this, so you must be derelict in your duty. And this board can't, compel a university or a community college or whatever
No junior college wanted to do it.
wanted to do it.
Okay.
And I mean, I think you could describe it as a great idea ahead of its time. And it just, so they took it out. And when it's fertile, it'll be a fine thing to put in the law, and it may be fertile now. Somebody may have a different idea about it. I think it would behoove, a committee of this group to maybe reach out to the 2 years colleges or to the 4 year schools or whoever to see what's doable before throwing it back in again.
Okay.
Gadsden State,
I actually reached out to Fortis and they want to do it.
but Gadsden State is already doing it.
Okay.
It's was going to be a hygiene school. It's very beautiful. It's state of the art, but they could not find a hygiene instructor. So now they are doing I think it's 15 or 18 months, and they can get certified. It's not like an 8-week program. It's a big program. So
Okay.
I have her information if somebody wants that to reach out to her.
I got a question. If we put EDA, are we going to license dental assistants?
We're just putting it in.
I know, but-
Putting it in the definition.
Yeah.
So that you say what an EDA would be if you considered it.
Yeah, but still the question is, are we going to, would that lead us to a dental assistant to be licensed?
And then what you would also have to do is when you get to the fees, you'd have to put it in there, be prepared so you can charge them. Because again, another thing as we talk about through these issues, I know we're not on fees yet, but anytime you're thinking about raising the cap on a fee, you're going to have pushback from this legislature who is like, oh, we don't want to raise taxes or fees on anybody. So that's a concern that you just have to remember is a possibility. And then whatever political concerns that may come from any of the constituent groups on any issue, which we know there's probably a couple.
So just so I understand, the legislature came and said, hey, you're not doing this program. Why is it in the
The
DPW?
examiners did.
The
And
examiners,
so we were
okay.
questioned about it. And
Okay.
finally, it was just, we came to the realization that it makes sense to go ahead and take it out since nobody's doing it right now.
Mhm.
So we don't have this stray thing out there and people wondering, why aren't you doing this?
Okay.
Because it made it wasn't your fault, it wasn't the board's fault that nobody was doing this. And it was done with the idea that somebody would, but it didn't happen. And so this decision was made to, when we went into the Practice Act for a couple other things, we removed that portion.
So probably, Reagan, it would be wise maybe not to do this right now, but
Well,
if
if there's a path forward. with it.
yeah, but if we put this in, we might have to go back and look again at number 234.91 about annual registration and add assistance in there. And then like Kevin said, then you're gonna have to put a fee. So it's kind of like those three things are gonna almost have to go simultaneously
Sure.
in.
Before you can do anything, I mean,
Yes, sir.
you can define a term, but if it requires a license, you're gonna have to authorize the license. And if you're gonna charge a fee for it, you're gonna have to have legislation or in the code to charge the fee.
I always just think about it as casting a stone. Every time it hits the water, there's another ripple. Just try to view it that way. Because right now we're talking high level. What is X? But then you're going to have to define X here. You're going to have to make a rule that establishes their duties. You're going to have to then either raise floors of the paraprofessional that is seated either above them or beneath them on the hierarchy of professional responsibilities. And then, of course, there's the money that engaged with it. There's the educational aspects with it. And all that has to be contemplated in one fell swoop when you add it. If we can't just add I think that's really,
Yeah,
Where the
it gets a
error is,
little
you add the
wonky to
definition
just have a stray definition sitting there as a placeholder.
And obviously today's not our only day to visit any of this, so maybe we can explore the Gadsden State thing. Kelly, do you know, have they graduated a class of that yet that you're aware of? What do those people go, what do they do?
Well, first off, they go to Ross Isabel. And
Uh,
he finishes the training and then they go out. It is not a cheap program. I think it's between $5,000 and $8,000.
What license
But
do they get?
Well,
They don't get a lot.
They don't. They get education and they can seek for the Davy, whatever test that
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
They get a certification.
Mhm.
But
But-
they don't.
What, I mean,
Would be the point.
Danby is a national program. It's STEM assisting a national something.
okay, but I'm just like, how, but if they're working in Alabama, what license are they carrying? They don't have to have one?
No, no.
Okay,
But if they were to go into Tennessee, who does allow certification,
they would do that.
they're Danby certified.
But you gotta remember, what we envisioned Etta being was somebody that could do, basic cavity prep and, plus or minus placement of restorative.
I thought
And-
it was the other way around. I think we cut and they fill.
I'm not sure.
The discussion here was about basic cavity prep and, or in restoration or just restoration. I'm just telling you, that was part of the rub about the whole thing is that you had something that you never had a definition of duties. And there were very disparate thoughts about what those duties could be.
That goes past my memory. I'll trust his on that.
I remember it because I remember how difficult the whole thing turned out to be. I would say that probably leaving this definition out right now is intelligent until we've had several more years and all the people that were there have developed enough Alzheimer's not to remember. All right, moving on.
Digital dentistry.
Talk about it.
All right. The use of computer-based technology, including digital imaging, CAD/CAM systems, which have been around for years, electronic records, and artificial intelligence assisted tools in the provision of dental care. And that's just the future.
I have that under my definitions too.
Yours is so much nicer than mine. Yeah, use a computer assisted design and manufacturing system. I like that one better.
I think on Renee's definition of technology is to diagnose. We gotta be careful that we don't let AI diagnose instead of us diagnosing.
Okay.
So we probably need to, or say, or help, or assist in diagnosing.
Yeah, but
Well, the X-ray
what
is
you
digital.
would say is artificial intelligence, diagnostic assistance
Yeah, well,
software. I mean, because it is nice to have something point out things that you need to look at on an X-ray,
Right.
That makes sense.
and it's going to get to be more and more common.
Oh, I mean, the insurance companies are
and diagnose it.
doing it. They don't even.
Labs are doing right now.
Some of the corporate.
You wanted to use, it's always correct. Yeah.
I think it changed.
Yeah.
Assist to, I would say, assist to diagnose, design, fabricate, deliver for all of it possibly.
All right, where are we down to?
Intraoral scanning.
Yeah, I have, intraoral scan is not defined. I have a digital capture of oral structures using scanning technology in lieu of a traditional impression for diagnostic or restorative purposes.
Right.
And then the next is, AI.
Just 1 second on intraoral scans. That's one of those provisions from the FTC small directions.
Right,
Be aware that they have to be informed of any modification to those types of definitions and rules.
Wow.
We have to be careful.
Yeah, Kevin, then do we need to remove in lieu of traditional impressions?
Then just scrap it then. It's an
No,
issue.
no, we can keep
Oh,
it.
I think it's good.
Well, we need to let FCC that we'll change it.
Gotcha.
Be informed of it.
Right. When do we not have to tell FTC?
4 years.
2028? I think we,
I think it's somewhere closer to 2030.
oh, it's, okay,
Because when did that happen? That happened post-COVID.
2018.
We settled it, in 20, didn't we?
I think so.
20 or 21.
December 20th of 21 shall terminate December 2031.
Ooh. Okay.
Secretary of FTC. Secretary.
Just be careful.
I mean, just remove in lieu of traditional impression. Just using scanning technology for diagnostic or restorative purposes. Does that help? No.
No, they wanna,
You're addressing that is the problem.
Okay.
You say anything about it.
Don't.
They want to
Okay, then just take it out. Forget it.
When she runs again in 2032, she can.
Nope.
But you can keep it in, Doc. We just have to tell them.
Nope. I don't want it. I don't want anything extra to do with anything extra. Nope. Okay, then do we want to say anything about AI?
let's just talk about this because we, I think someone asked if my assistant does an intraoral scan, is that a problem? Right? And so if we don't address it, then, how can we? Oh, sorry. How do I do this?
Sonia, I agree, because if the assistant does a scan, and say for a partial, and the scan looks great and doctor accepts it, then she has really done an impression, a final impression.
Right. I think it's
Well,
needed.
We are doing.
Oh, we're doing that. I'm serious. This is something that, even for Crown Bridge,
Correct. We are doing that.
and AI is doing the preps for, doing the rest, crowns for us and the partials and dentures for us. Because all that right now, so all goes to the cloud. So, Sonia, I agree with you.
Yeah. So if we need to notify Smile Direct,
What does that do? What does that, what,
Well, you notify the FTC.
oh, the FTC.
Yeah, all you're doing is telling them that you're modifying or codifying a definition.
You want to,
You would like to, with their permission.
that they submit letters. No, I do that.
But then goes back to what I said, if we don't do anything about it, then our assistants are doing final restorations, and that's against our statutes. That's written right now.
Well, Roberto, don't you think that this whole thing needs to be addressed over in the rules about assistance?
Oh, yeah,
But
absolutely.
the only thing here is we could submit a definition and see if they say okay or not.
I agree with that.
Worst thing we could do is they say no and we strike the thing out.
Or we can modify it.
Yeah, or modified to meet their specifications.
Right.
I think that's our biggest problem, is getting the definitions. We can work on the rest in 4B.
Yeah.
My system, man, that's good.
Mine too. I hardly know how to pick it up.
What we're discussing is, I haven't fully digested this settlement agreement with the FTC, but if it's the legislature making the change and not the dental board, I don't know whether we have to notify the FTC at that time. Now, following the passage of the legislation, and we make rules relative to that legislation, then I think the requirement would be triggered at that point. But if the legislation, and so I'm speaking a little bit out of turn because I'd have to put my arms around this settlement. If the legislation was specific enough and didn't necessitate regulations on it, then that might be a way to not notify the FTC. And at the same time, notification of the FTC may not be that big of a hurdle either, but it's a different FTC now than it was then.
All right. So why don't we work on the definition that we think would be acceptable, and let's look at it again. All right, Dr. Talbot, I think you're down to
AI.
AI.
Do we want to define software used to analyze dental radiographs, photographs, scans to assist the dentist in detecting pathology or treatment needs? The final diagnosis and treatment decision remains the responsibility of the dentist. Or or do you even need to say the final diagnosis? Just as a definition, do you just want to define what AI is for the future?
As the on the legal side, I would keep that back end there, like you said, because you don't want to leave wiggle room.
You
for
would or
somebody.
you wouldn't?
I would keep it like you have.
You keep
'cause I
it,
don't want-
okay.
If you give it very vague and then someone says, well, I didn't misdiagnose because the AI, so you can't do anything, but it needs to.
Gotcha.
In the end, it's still the dentist who's responsible for the tools they use.
Let me make one comment. Let's back up one line to intraoral scan. I promise I won't bog us down here. For some reason, I'm thinking it might be wise to strike in lieu of a traditional
Yeah.
impression.
That's what I was thinking.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I was ever thinking hard about it and y'all, I wasn't listening, so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, just a general definition. Then,
Renee, I don't have a problem with that definition. I think so.
okay.
AI, I think I don't have a problem.
That's a good definition.
Okay. And I think with dental auxiliary and dental assistant, I think my comments are just that there's kind of muddy waters with the expanded dental assistant. Some of that, since we don't have it, I think there's just confusion. But I guess it's up to y'all if y'all want to keep it in there or not. If you wanted to, define exactly what the dental assistant is. And, yeah. What do y'all think? Can we define it? I mean, just, simply the dental assistant. I mean, just again, it's just defined as personnel who performs duties under the supervision of a licensed dentist as allowed by board rule. So, I mean, it's just very generic.
They say straight down dental auxiliary or add.
Yeah, I mean, just if you're defining, if you're defining dental auxiliary or dental assistant or?
That's the only part we have to work on.
Just saying.
That's the whole.
Can it be a section where it says dental auxiliary and then dental hygienist and dental assistant and define all of them?
You already have it.
Is that in board rule?
You already have a licensed dentist and licensed hygienist definitions 10 and
Oh,
11.
that's true.
So all this is going to do is you're going to tell me, do you want what dental assistant or dental auxiliary, whatever you choose, and then we'll just punch that up to be next to
I'd say.
Oh, right under that, just put auxiliary.
yeah, because it's 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess.
Auxiliary would be.
Okay.
Kevin, is board rule the only place dental assistants duties are listed? Is there need to be, there's not?
No, the way the Practice Act scopes is that you have all of this is the practice of dentistry, and the rule allows you to delegate it to paraprofessionals.
Thank you.
So the only weird part here for consideration is whether or not we speak to the unlicensed professional in the definition section, because every other, a licensee, a license certificate, a licensed dentist, a license to do this, a license to do that. And this would be an example of an unlicensed person that I suppose we have jurisdiction over it, but not in the same capacity as a licensed dentist or a licensed hygienist.
Yes, again.
Correct.
So don't do it.
Take it out.
What do you better.
The only thing about it, I mean, it's the intention that we're eventually going that we eventually want to license the dental assistants
No,
at some point.
no, but just to define who they are.
Well, they're saying it doesn't matter because we can't regulate who they are.
Yeah, but dental assistants in this state have so much duties they can do,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not licensed. I mean, if you look at the things that they can do, it's staggering. And you know, we're talking about now doing starting IV sedation. So that's something that we need to get a handle on that.
And I'll leave it to y'all whether you think they should be licensed or not, however you want to handle that. Kevin, doesn't make, so should we go back to the original definitions and add in with a license? I mean, what a dental assistant is?
That's where
Is that where you're going?
That's what we're trying to figure out.
Want to even define what you don't have jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Well, I will say for what it's worth, under the for examinations of hygienists, one of the requirements is has served as a dental assistant for a period of time. So
That's just for the hygiene
that's just,
program.
it's
That
just
doesn't apply
right.
to CODA, so that's just for that program.
And I would say, yeah, go back to the definition. Just give them the definition.
That's what.
Assistant.
Yeah.
And with that definition there, it still gives us a little room if there's this great program
Mm-hmm.
that we can say, okay, now we have
Eventually.
a EFTA or ETA, you know, at least the beginning, you know.
Well, and it makes it clear too, when they're
What-
dividing up and rule what they can and cannot do, like y'all done, you have it on the front that this is what they are.
Yeah, right.
So later on.
Right.
Okay. And then the next thing I have is, it was something with Sonia regarding, some of the sedation and controlled substance definitions, just again, not the official,
Oh, look
but
at you. I
Chat
love it.
GPT just had, I guess, in comparison to other states,
Mhm.
had these things defined.
Mm.
Not, again, that's not in my wheelhouse, but, that's just, what I found in my search of things.
Mark, should we define different types of sedation? Using a statute, or should we do it as a?
Well, that's in your rule.
That's right.
Okay.
I mean, in your statute, you just want to preserve the right for dentistry to administer anesthesia and sedation. And then you want to define that in the rules so you can always change it as practice changes. Anything you put in the statute, remember, you got to go back to the legislature to change it.
All right.
So you want to keep those broad
Right.
definitions in there and not get too specific.
Okay. Okay. Then I guess we get to, some of this I think has to do with something we were talking about earlier, with the corporate dentistry and what, sorry.
Still check.
Oh.
It's not.
Okay. Where are we?
Just noticed, I was reading through it too. So after the sentence ends, they do not belong in the DPA question mark. There's the portion that says levels of sedation, and then there's the thought, I think that is a separate one about controlled substances. It says remove, administer, and dispense from the controlled substances definition. Is that redundant? It's a conflict with pharmacy and medical statutes. And then instead, it was suggested that its controlled substances definition shall have the meaning provided within the State Controlled Substances Act.
Yeah.
I wanted feedback about if we're keeping that or addressing that.
Whatever we say ought to be consistent with the state,
And I think that's
the
what,
State Controlled Substance Act.
I think that's when, in that particular point from chat, was that there's conflict. Which, that's as far as I got. I mean, I didn't.
So the use case for this and why it was done had to do with the disparate use between the federal government and us. I forget the exact example. I sort of wish he was here to set me straight, but the gist of it was that in the federal, I might be misrepresenting this, I apologize, but in the federal context, it was something to the effect of if you are in possession of the drug and then you give it for anything that is dispensing the drug, they don't contemplate administering the drug. So if you inject something into the IV that is dispensing the same, but here in Alabama, those terms are different. Dispensing would be that you write the pharmacy dispenses the thing to the end user versus administering, which is the actual act of the dentist administering a drug to a seated patient. That was the only reason we went into that granular level, because there was enough issue between those two phrases specifically. You want to keep it or not?
Yeah. I expect we keep it if it's consistent with Alabama law. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah. They have administered.
Let's just try to keep it be the same. Yeah. All right. All right,
Go back to,
are we down to corporate dentistry / DSOs?
yes.
Okay, we don't say anything. I don't think we ever contemplated that there would be a dental service organization back when everything was written. And I think that this whole thing about dental service organization we probably ought to write something in the definition, and then we probably ought to write something about, that there be some person licensed by the state that is responsible to the board for this organization.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like when people defined some of the other states what the dental home, what your dental home is for that licensee.
Have you looked at some of the other states, how they've been? Like have they been able to maintain the dentist to stay in the state? It sounds like our problem is you got some guy from New York
Right.
who's licensed in Alabama. He never steps foot here. He just
Right.
opens the
And
office and he stays in New York.
I don't remember at this point, but I did look into that some. But I don't remember. I have to go back.
Because is that a primary issue that y'all seen?
Well,
I guess we could still discipline them, but it's
right. But my example
I
was
don't think it's an issue with disciplining them. It's an issue with finding the
correct.
person, because what we're asking for is for data and records, and nobody seems to be responsible. And we need somebody that's responsible that could provide that stuff to us. And I don't care if they're in New York and Alabama licensed. All I care about is that there's somebody on the hook for providing the information, because otherwise you can't investigate a patient complaint without it. That's our problem. It's because you send something over there to the DSO and you get nothing.
Correct. That's my experience. In Georgia, Shannon might be able to speak to this better than I can, but I believe there's discussion about having DSOs license the actual locations. That's the avenue that they're trying to approach handling that problem.
Shannon, do you know about that?
Yes, sir. They're in the process right now of trying to push stuff through legislation to hold the company who owns the dental practice accountable for anything. They actually will have dentist will have the dental license. The company will have a license for the actual building with a dental board.
When you say they are looking at legislation, is that Alabama or
Georgia?
Georgia.
That's how Georgia, because they're having the same
Okay.
trouble with trying to hold a dentist accountable when they go in to discipline them. The company simply removes them, puts in another dentist, and keeps on going. So the same thing keeps happening. So they're looking at ways to hold the company actually accountable.
Now, I will say there is various other boards that have similar situations now that we're talking about that do it that way, where they have you have your individual practitioner and then you have the company license. They just got to apply that way. When we go to attack it, we got you as the licensee, and we also got the company, and we'll pull it and never let that company, or go find the company and things of that nature where you could get your hands on them to stop that, because that's the home builders. Any of the other professions, that was a way of doing business where they just keep cycling and never have to comply with regs. So I think with that clarity, we could probably make it match anything else that we've done in the state, and they've done that.
So if we do that, we in turn add it to the fees, right?
Correct. You have to add
Yeah,
to.
just create another license. Whatever other requirements you have, I think for the rest of them, there is no requirement other than you have to have a licensed dentist, or the licensee, and then they got to pay this fine and register it. And it's usually like a registered agent is hereby held responsible, which would usually be the licensee. That way you can kind of tie the two together, and there's a physical person you're going after. But yeah, I think so.
Cameron, do you envision that being like, let's say you've got DSO Birmingham and we send something and they get their license pulled, suspended, whatever. But this DSO has 10 other locations in the state. Is there one umbrella or is it by location? And what do you think?
I think you can do it either way. Now, how the other boards have done it would just be that company in and of itself. That company, ABC Inc., has a license to practice in the state of Alabama, wherever that is. So if you pull them, you pull every single one of them. And they would do like stop work orders, depending on the profession. and shut them all down. You're not allowed to practice in the state of Alabama anymore until you fix whatever issue it was. But you could do it by location. I mean, it's kind of however you
No, I
envision it.
think if you're
I think it'd
gonna,
be more effective.
I think it's more effective if it's one license.
That way they don't shut down. Either
Just
move down the
just
street
move-
and open
right,
another
they
one.
just open into another building.
Cameron, how would you define DSO? Because usually that's a S corporation or C corporation. I mean, he and I can have a DSO, and it could be 2 practices or 3 practices versus 1,500.
I think you might have to go back and just look at defining, just look at what your common business associations are. If you're a solo practitioner, then you need to say that what's going to qualify to be a corporation. You don't have to get very broad, but I think just general enough to do that. Because as long as you're not trying to require the solo practitioner to also go get a firm license, that doesn't make sense. So however you're trying to separate those two out from each other, where it's just the corporation.
Well, see, in my case, I have a corporation. I'm a solo practitioner.
See, that's what we'll have to look at the definitions to make sure we're not
Exactly.
wrapping you up into it, as well as what is really like a true corporation. We just have to look at the definitions, and it'd probably have to come from what y'all's understanding of what the business relationships are. That way we can accurately define it and not accidentally catch you up and force you to get it.
Right.
Mhm.
Reagan, do you see any red flags in this train of thought about maybe doing that with the DSOs?
I think that'd be the, no lobbyists left behind act where, folks supposed to hire people all over Montgomery to fight that. I mean, doesn't mean it's not worth the fight. I'm just saying, it'll be a political fight.
Was it a political fight in the other arenas also across the state when that happened?
I mean, and, one of our, when we passed that as the first time, the fight we got into was with one of the, we had some other language that brought in, Sorrel that was vehemently opposed to what we were doing. And we won. And the other thing is that you get consumer protection argument on their side.
Mhm.
Right.
That,
Yeah.
It's not figured family of 4 who, have problems with dentists and they can't be investigated and they just continue to do their work. I mean, I think you've got a great argument. But it will be pressure, there will be a political fight. So you're stopping the evolution of healthcare, yada, yada, yada. You're harming access to care, whatever. Because, everybody's gonna hold that up as their badge of honor, anything that puts them in business, is increasing access to care, whether it's appropriate or not. That's, another.
But I think Alda and the Alabama Dental Society probably would be behind this.
Oh, I'm sure,
And
obviously, and that's, that's the political landscape we're in. I mean, you've got people that have had conventional dental practices that were in towns all over this Alabama, for all of the states since, for over 100 years. And now we have corporate entities and it's a different model and it's impacting how some of the smaller practitioners do their business. You live this every day. So, yeah, I understand that Alda would probably love to side up on that thing.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm not speaking for Alda, but I can't imagine that they wouldn't love that.
All right. So we need to work up corporate dentistry and DSO definitions.
Let me ask you real quick, Reagan, would it make sense to separate that out from everything else we're doing? Is it going to be that big of a political fight? We need to do it by itself.
Well, you can do it either way. You can do it both ways.
Does it matter? In your opinion?
Just depends when you get.
I was just envisioning, I don't want them to hold everything else. We'll just axe their whole deal.
Well, I mean,
And you get into that
You
situation.
can throw it up as a standalone, you can have it in your other one, if it gets amended out, it gets amended out, or whatever, that's, I mean, it's a sausage factory.
I don't know. I don't remember my next comment anymore.
Mobile dentistry, portable dentistry, laser dentistry.
Yeah.
Non-dentist ownership. I think the
think it's-
non-dentist ownership is probably gonna fall under that corporate. Is that what you were trying to say?
I think just that none of this is defined. Do we want, just suggestions, do we want any of this defined?
I'm not sure laser dentistry has to be defined because that would be almost kind of like saying handpiece dentistry.
Gotcha.
That's kind of like a tool. So I'm not, and plus you could get into laser endo, you could get into laser crown lengthening. I mean, I think that's just almost, but the mobile and portable, I think that may bear some discussion, but yeah.
Yeah, and forget the non-dentist benefit.
Well-
We've already discussed
Well,
that.
non-dentist, I think we need to add a caveat that if a solo practitioner passes away, that the spouse can own the practice for a certain amount of time so they can sell it or do whatever. I think we need, because if you don't have it,
Yeah, I thought we already, did we already have that?
Pretty sure that's.
I think it's, yeah,
Okay,
there's a,
okay.
Where.
right, I think I read that somewhere.
I think it was a year.
Yeah, and
That's all.
then my next 3499-1-6, I don't recall what I was talking about then. There. And then after that, I'll have to go back. I'll go back and I don't remember. Then again, it's just procedures if we wanted to include any of that. Anything about dental lab? Those are just ideas. I just wasn't sure if it, since all of those things are more modern, do we need to define any of that?
Oh, we can let the rule define it under the rules.
Okay.
So we just define what a dental lab is.
Yeah.
Let's take a 10-minute break.
Yeah, I wrote too much through this.
Here you go. That's for you.
I saw that. I saw
let's get back going. And, first thing we'll do is, before we have, a motion for an executive session, is we'll let Reagan talk to us.
2 seconds. I always appreciate.
Okay, we've got our sunset date. It's set to go. And if you recall the process, the first day is the examiners outlining the report to the members. We don't speak. We can sit in the audience and listen. Have you received the report back yet? You'll get one soon. In the next few weeks, you'll get a preliminary copy, and then the board will have the opportunity to digest that and make any response, because if there's findings, you'll have the opportunity to say, well, we've done this, this, and this since then, or this is the mitigating circumstance, or yeah, you got us, whatever the appropriate response is. Day 2 is the board's appearance before the committee, where you outline what you've been doing, and then make response to the findings that are in the report, and then take questions from the committee. And then after that, they will go into a business meeting where they will make the recommendation on reauthorization, whether 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. And while that is usually carries the day, it doesn't always, because last time you were given 1 and we were able to work it into 2. And so we're optimistic of stretching that out. I know that the staff's worked really hard, and y'all have too, to make sure that the things that were on the report last time aren't on again. Nobody ever, very rarely does somebody come through one without having something on there. So if there's like 1 or 2 things on there, know that it's a lot better than 17.
Do they take into consideration when you have a gap to where they're already examining you before you have a chance before you hear the findings?
No, they don't.
Okay.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it is, they take their regulatory and oversight responsibility, and sometimes I remember anecdotally, when I was at insurance and we had a finding about how this was a problem. Well, it was a problem that the legislature passed, and we can't do something that the legislature didn't authorize us to do, but that's kind of those things. But we are prepared to work with the committee members again, but looking forward to seeing the report with you, so we'll know exactly what to do. A lot of interim sessions going on, and the Rural Health Care Transformation Act, which I know some of you are extremely interested in. For phase 1, all the notices for funding opportunities are out for the $203 million that will be dispersed throughout the state are out. And the first set of responses are due on the first 5, and I think the second ones are due in about 3 weeks. And so we'll see where all that goes. But great opportunity to do some good in rural areas, and hopefully some folks with some dental emphasis are in on it, because it's a good deal. Any questions?
What date did they give us to go?
Look on my calendar.
October 29th.
October 29th. So we're in the last batch. And the other thing was, I noticed they didn't seem to have very long time frames set up. I took that a very good sign. as a very good sign. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Instead of, when you see that there's somebody an hour after you, you might want to go ahead and take your colonoscopy prep, because it's going to be rough. I mean, but with 15 minutes, I feel a lot better about it. So, or maybe that's just wishful thinking on their part. I don't know, but that was the setup. The other thing is, I think it's one of the final meetings in the old State House. The new one's going to be something special. It's beautiful. Took a tour a couple weeks ago. 9:30. And what we will ask you to do that day is, or invite you down to our office. Well, no, that practice will be under construction. We'll figure it out, to be determined. We're starting our renovation, in 2 weeks, and they're going to be gutting our offices. So we're going to be at Steve's house, his garden home in Montgomery, our temporary office, which will be a royal pain. I hope they don't have any cats in there. I'll be dead. You'll be dealing with someone else after that. Thank y'all. If you ever need me, call me. And, you don't have to wait to see me here if you want to talk to me. You can always call me.
Thanks for getting that right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, we're going to start working on, the DBA on page 9, at legislative finding. Okay. I need a motion, to go into executive session to consider case reviews and, pending litigation.
Mr. President, I move that we go into executive session for pending litigation.
Case review.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
White, yes.
McElwain, yes.
York, yes.
Piece of guess.
Talbot, yes. Perry, yes.
Okay,
And then I just certify Cameron Elkins as a member in good standing with the bar certifies that we are going into executive session, at least partially, for pending litigation.
okay. And let's, stop the video. right, we're back in public session. Are there any items that need to come before the board?
Yes, sir. We need to vote on disciplinary cases.
Okay,
Let's start with Dr. White's 2652 recommended notice for hearing.
2652, recommended, notice for hearing. Do I hear a motion?
Oh, pardon me. This was, since we're saying the charges, it was recommended for notice for hearing with a record keeping charge.
Notice recommended for hearing for, record keeping. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to accept the recommendation.
Second?
Second.
Motion, by Dr. York, seconded by Dr. Talbot. Roll call vote. McElwain, yes.
White
White
abstain.
abstains.
York, yes.
Pinchet, yes.
Talbot, yes. Perry abstain.
All right.
2646, no evidence to sustain recommendation.
2646, no evidence to sustain. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to accept the recommendation.
Motion by Dr. York, second by Dr. Piszczek.
White abstain.
Was it?
It was her case.
Okay, McElwain, yes.
York, yes.
Pinchet, yes.
Talbot, yes. Perry abstain.
Okay. This is a case from the AGO's office. It's case number 2085 with a recommendation from counsel for no evidence to sustain.
2085, no evidence to sustain. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Dr. White, second by
York.
Dr. York. McElwain, yes.
White, yes.
York, yes.
Pinchet, yes.
Talbot, yes. Perry abstain.
And then these are Dr. McElwain's cases. 2641, recommended no evidence to sustain.
2641, no evidence to sustain.
Motion to accept the recommendation.
Motion by Dr. York, second by Dr. White. McElwain abstain.
White, yes.
York, yes.
Pinchet, yes.
Talbot, yes. Perry abstain.
McElwain 2643, no evidence to sustain.
2643, no evidence to sustain. Motion
Motion.
by Dr. White, second by
Second.
Dr. Talbot. McElwain abstains.
White, yes.
York, yes.
Pinchet, yes.
Talbot, yes. Perry abstain.
McElwain 2658, recommended out of jurisdiction.
2658, out of jurisdiction. Motion
Motion.
by Dr. White, second by Dr. Piszczek. McElwain abstains.
White, yes.
York, yes.
Pinchet, yes.
Talbot, yes. Perry abstain.
McElwain 2660, no evidence to sustain recommendation.
2660, no evidence to sustain.
Motion.
Motion by Dr. White, second by Dr. Piszczek. McElwain abstains.
White, yes.
York, yes.
Pinchet, yes.
Talbot, yes. Perry abstain.
Okay. Dr. York 2659, recommended out of jurisdiction.
2659, recommended out of jurisdiction. Motion by Dr. White, second by Dr. Piszczek.
White, yes.
McElwain, yes.
York, abstain.
Pinchet, yes.
Talbot, yes. Perry abstain.
Dr. York 2663, recommended administratively closed.
2653, recommendation,
63.
excuse me, 2663,
Yes, sir.
recommendation administrative closed. Motion by Piszczek, second by White. McElwain, yes.
White, yes.
York, abstain.
Pinchet, yes.
Talbot, yes. Perry abstain.
Dr. York 2649, out of jurisdiction recommendation.
2649, out of jurisdiction.
Make a motion.
Piszczek, yes. A motion, excuse me.
White, second.
White seconds, McElwain, yes.
White, yes.
York, abstain.
Pinchet, yes.
Talbot, yes. Perry abstain.
Dr. Piszczek has 3 cases, 2648, 56, and 66. They're all companion cases. His recommendation was no evidence to sustain.
Dr. Piszczek. Too many numbers for me.
26, 48, 56, and 66, no evidence to sustain.
Motion by Dr. White, second by Dr. York. McElwain, yes.
White, yes.
York, yes.
Pinchet abstains.
Talbot, yes. Perry abstain.
All right, and then to close this out, Dr. Talbot has 2, 2621, recommended no evidence to sustain.
2621, recommendation, no evidence to sustain. Motion
Motion.
by Dr. York,
Second.
second by Dr. Piszczek. McElwain, yes.
White, yes.
York, yes.
Bishop, yes.
Talbot abstain.
Perry abstain.
And then 2671, no evidence to sustain.
2671, no evidence to sustain. Motion.
Motion.
Dr. White, second by
Second.
Dr. Piszczek. All in favor? Oh, excuse me, yes.
White, yes.
York, yes.
Bishop, yes.
Talbot abstain.
Perry abstain.
I'm getting dizzy.
Kevin, 2664. Okay.
All right.
Can I make a motion?
Anything else?
Are we doing conflict?
Conflict, yes. Yes. Yeah, that's right, I don't know.
I don't know if we do it in regular session or we do it out.
Out here. Thanks. 2652 was recommended notice for hearing. Let me pull that name up. Good catch, thank you. It is Dr. Michelle Groves. Okay.
All right. Any other business to come before the board? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make to suspend it to pick up next week, tomorrow, right?
Adjourn for now and we'll return tomorrow.
I second that.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.